Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli. Uh, Black people, let's talk about them. That's no way to start a video, but it's one of those serendipitous days where things I was reading about in the newspaper, um, excuse me, I had just to explain why I was reading the newspaper on a Friday is because the severe needs kid I spend time with, he takes a nap in the middle of the day, and I got nothing to do, so I read the paper while he's taking his nap. Thank you, mom, for the paper. Like, my mom usually gets through this. My mom and stepdad read the paper, and then they recycle it to me, and actually, I find a lot of value in reading articles in the paper. So it felt kind of serendipitous today while I was at work, while I was wearing my Black Lives Matter T-shirt that was sold to me. I was gonna say issued to me, but they didn't really issue. They didn't force staff members at my school, which is the third black. A third of the student population is black. They didn't force me to. They said, "Hey, if this means something to you, buy the shirt." It does mean something to me, and I always want when you're a white guy wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt, it might come off as pretty false, but I honestly believe in the cause. I know I've mentioned to you guys that I went to four of the rallies for the protests last summer, and it really does mean a lot to me. And so the day started off kind of funny because there's a guy named Herb there, and he's around my age, and he's kind of moderate to maybe right of center politically. I've talked to him before, and I had my Black Lives Matter shirt on. I don't know if it pissed him off or I don't know. It was a weird moment though. I said, "Hey Herb, what's going on?" He just stared at me and he fucking ghosted me. It was really weird, and I was like, "Because of the shirt." That's the only thing I can figure. Nothing else makes sense unless he just had a moment. But I'm weird. Maybe I'm one of those weird humans that when someone says hi to me, I actually, oh hey, how's it going? So bizarre. So I guess that helped me with the theme of today's theme. I was going to go on about my dad, by the way, which I just got back from. But I'll probably do a two-parter tomorrow because tomorrow I help him move. And so tonight was kind of tough. I spent a few hours over there trying to get him the last preparations. Uh, there's a lot to unpack there, so that's probably a two-parter. Um, yeah, and then we'll get back to all the other stuff, all the weird stuff. And I'm sorry, I meant to do a two-parter on the on all the stuff I'm finding, lawsuits. You know, we did the episode on my Uncle Al and all the shit I found that was his. So this is that will also revisit. But tonight, let's talk black people. So in the news and here in Denver, Teddy Bridgewater was just named the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. And as much as I'm psyched that this will be the first black starting quarterback to start an opening day game one, as far as I know, I don't. I'm thinking of the whole history of the Broncos as far as I've known them that they've never had a black quarterback as a starter, in a non-reserve role. So psyched about that is about that as I am. I am also a big Drew Lock fan, and I think Teddy Bridgewater is serviceable and solid, and will get you into the playoffs and nothing else. Now, having said that, I hope I'm completely wrong, but I find Drew Lock. I've mentioned this before to be more like a Brett Favre type. Win big, lose big. Most victories ever by the time he retired. Maybe the most interceptions by any quarterback as well. So Green Bay Packer fans would fill you in on this because you just see the highlights. You wouldn't see the lowlights of Brett Favre often, if you're just a Sports Center watcher. So that's weird how I said lowlights, right? And the lights went off. That's weird. I can't time it like that. I'm not that smart. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm psyched that Teddy Bridgewater is getting a shot, but I just don't find him as exciting to watch, and I honestly don't think he has the potential that Drew Lock brings. But we'll just see. But I'm going to try not to watch too much football. I say that every year. I probably will. So anyway, and that brings me to we're almost at the halfway point. So today I read a big article about Elijah McClain. Now, most of you probably know who he is. Many of us did not know who he was, and until the George Floyd thing opened all this Black Lives Matter stuff up. Elijah McClain was from my neck of the woods where I used to live in Aurora. I forgot where he was a student at, but he was 23 years old 2 years ago when he was killed by the police slash EMTs. Um, he was out walking around. He was a special needs kid too. This kid was obviously on the spectrum. When you get to know his background and his education and the way he was, and so that's what makes it extra tragic for a person like me to think of one of my students dying unnecessarily that way just because he was acting weird. That's essentially what it came down to, and that's why a lot of changes happened in Colorado, not only because of George Floyd, but also because of Elijah McClain. However, there's a lot of problems that have not been resolved with the Elijah McClain story. So let me try to cover this quickly. Um, he was out in the streets of Aurora. It was nighttime. I don't think it was super late. He was out. He was unsupervised because I think he was good enough. And it's another thing that frightens me to my core. Dante's special needs, but he can go out and do things and be unsupervised. God forbid he acts a little weird. Someone calls the cops on him and overreacts. Luckily, he's not black, and I say that with the utmost sincerity. I know that the statistics are there. This kid was black, somewhat disabled, and he was walking and acting crazy just on a street and had a ski mask on, and probably shouldn't have. It was August, but he shouldn't have because it was almost exactly 2 years ago today that he was killed. And somebody called 911. Oh, I got a weird black kid on my street, God forbid. And the police just automatically jumped on him, literally. They should have been able to tell he was special needs, which is why we need better trained police officers. And they should have been able to subdue him quite easily because he did not resist at all, without having to put him in a chokehold and then have him sedated with ketamine by the EMTs, which killed him. The tragedy is horrific, and his mother is an amazing woman who had struggled her whole life with him and I think two other children. She was poor her whole life. She was a single mom, or his whole life. She was a single mother. It was rough. And then for him, and he was doing wonderful things with his life, just like I see Dante work, and I've seen him volunteer. And this kid was doing that. Elijah McClain would go to a cat shelter, and he taught himself violin and would play violins for the cats to make them comfortable. Logan's actually done something similar. A lot of the animal shelters around here have programs where your kids can go in and just read books, so these cats get used to being around people, and then they're more adoptable. So he was doing stuff like that, and he was working as a masseuse, and he was helping people, and it's an overall tragedy. He was only 23. Dante's 23 right now, and it scares the crap out of me. Like I said, it's a terrible. That's the height of white privilege, knowing that my kid has a better shot of that not happening to him simply because he's white and not black. In fact, so there's more about Elijah McClain that I probably should address, but I'm going to actually go into something more about what happened with Dante and why he lives with me now. I may have mentioned this in the past, but Dante had some issues. He would get physical with my ex-wife sometimes. This is about 4 years ago, so he was like 18, 19 years old. And for about 6 months, she called the cops on him 4 times. And there's 2 reasons I was upset with my ex-wife in this regard. One was that she baby talks him, and still does, and that's why he reacted poorly. He had no right to be physical with her, however, that's what happened. Secondly, I told her, call me first. If I'm not there and you really feel threatened, then yes, call the police, but call me first. 2 times, she called the police, then me, and I was there before the police. The other 2 times, one was we were out and about, geez, kitty, and the other time I think I was not around. Thankfully, the Aurora police, in this case, because the Aurora police killed Elijah McClain, in this case they showed a lot of restraint and patience, but it's hard to see your kid in handcuffs just because he was triggered, and it's frightening. And so that's, I guess, I know I kind of went off the beaten path on this, but that's why he lives with me now, is because things didn't go well with his mother. And I'm so thankful that I was there. I'm so thankful that he lives with me. And I'm thankful that he doesn't have to worry about being killed by a cop, most likely. All right, so that was a weird one. We were all over the place on that one. We'll get back at it. I will have quite an update for you, I'm sure, tomorrow night after my big day with Dad as we get him into assisted living. All right, thanks, you guys. Love you all. Talk to you next time. Bye.